Hi, everybody. I am going to wait a little bit for people to stream in. We're going to get started shortly, but I want to give everybody a chance who was in the waiting room to get into the actual meeting. So I'm glad you've joined me today. This is going to be wonderful to be able to share this material with you. It's the fruit of many, many years of experience, and I truly hope that you find this beneficial. And I'm looking forward to hearing where you are all from, the ages of your kids, if you're students, what grades you're in. So Leslie, if you could launch the poll and be sure as you're coming in that you fill in your whether your parents and what grades your children are in. If you're a student, what grade you're in, that will be very helpful. And you're going to have questions as we go through this material. So please put your questions in the Q&A, and I will be very happy to answer them at the end of the presentation. So we will get started really in just a minute or two, and feel free to fill that poll in so that I can, so that I can also angle what I say based on whether you're parents or students or a mixture. So yeah, and wherever you are in the process, whether you're a parent who's helping your student plan for college, whether you're a student who is going to apply next year or the year after, there are going to be many tips that you'll be able to learn today. I hope that will be that we'll be able to guide you through this process. So we will start in just a minute. Please, as you come in, I'm just going to repeat this, be sure to fill in the information in the poll so I know whether you're a parent, student, or, and also if you're a parent, what grades your kids are in. So I think we're going to get started. And a little bit about me. My name is Anjali Maazel. I'm a former Princeton University interviewer, TED Talk speaker, and college admissions expert. I'm also the very proud mom of a thriving 24-year-old who's now in grad school. At Anja Education Consultants, we have helped hundreds of students get into their top perfect match schools, including Yale and Stanford, Johns Hopkins and Vanderbilt, Swarthmore, and UT Austin, to name just a few. As a Princeton University interviewer, I learned what colleges are looking for in their students and how applicants can stand out from the crowd. And as a parent, I learned how important it is to teach our kids that college, and this applies to high-achieving kids especially, that college is just one step in designing a life of purpose and financial stability, not an end in itself. So I'm looking at the results of the poll, and it looks like most students it's about half and half parents and students, with most students in 11th grade, some 10th, and we even have some in 12th grade. So I will keep that in mind as I'm presenting this material. So what does my experience as a Princeton University interviewer and parent mean for you? Well, what this means is that if you visualize yourself on October 15th of your child's senior year, or if you're a student of your senior year in high school, October 15th, because your child submitted their 8 to 15 high quality applications early They have their first acceptances rolling in, and they have gotten the scholarship you were hoping for. So now you have the funds, the time, and the peace of mind to plan that winter break vacation that you've been fantasizing about for a long time. What you're thinking about is mountain or beach, domestic or international. You're not thinking about what college is my kid going to get into, or what kind of scholarship are we going to get. And in that scenario, with those acceptances already rolling in, what is your child thinking about? Well, instead of being close to burnout because they've tried to juggle their applications with their schoolwork and their extracurriculars and other responsibilities, and instead of dreading that winter break because they're going to be cramming their applications and submitting subpar essays, your teen is now going to be free to pursue the academic and extracurricular activities that mean the most to them and that enhance admission results. Additionally, as the first semester of senior year grades are often looked at by admission, your kids will have the energy to perform well in school instead of getting exhausted by trying to juggle everything at the same time. So timing is key. Earlier is better. Tip number 1. And by the way, as you get questions, please put them in the Q&A box. Additionally, I would like to ask Leslie to please post the link, because for attendees of this session, you're going to get a very special offer, and I want to be sure that you have access to it. So please, Leslie, if you would put that in the chat so everybody has access to the link. So tip number 1, timing is important. Focus the timeline on when the applications open, not when they close. Now, why is this important? So if you focus on when applications open, which is generally in August, and not when they close, which is generally in December to January, the reason for this is that rolling admissions, which means first come, first serve, is more popular among colleges than you would be able to tell from the website. Sometimes they won't officially say that they are rolling admissions first come, first serve, but in practice, that's what they're doing. They're slowly filling up their freshman class. They're slowly allocating their scholarship funds. So what you want is to use this information to your advantage. And if you want to admit standout applications, then how do you do that, right? If timing is so important, how do you submit those standout applications? Well, toward the end of this webinar, I will share that playbook, right? The blueprint I have developed over many years in this field to help students really ace the process. So to start with, though, I'm going to introduce you to the steps you have to take to submit those standout applications by looking at 3 case studies. Each of those case studies are going to give you a different tip. And I'm also at the end going to give you some do's and don'ts, and that's before the Q&A session. So let's start with Tony. Tony is a student I worked with recently, and he is now an architecture student at Rice University. He turned down a $100,000 scholarship from Tulane. When he came to me in his sophomore year, he said to me, kind of with his head hanging down, kind of clearly with his body language, not excited about this. He said, well, you know, I'm good in math, so everybody tells me I have to go into engineering. And then he said, I guess that I'm going to go into engineering. Well, I could tell his heart was not in it. But then I listened some more, and he said, but I also do art. Well, when I looked at his artistic talent through his the pieces that he'd made, I realized that he really had not only a strength in math, but also a strength in the arts. So I paired him with a mentor locally. And he then I had him apply to the Rhode Island School of Design for the summer. And after the summer, he came back all excited, and he said, I know what I'm going to do. I want to go into architecture, because this way I'll be able to combine my strength in math with my passion for art And in the end, he submitted a really winning portfolio to a number of schools, including Rice, where he ended up. And so the tip here is to align with the perfect match majors and careers. Help your kids ask a different question to find that sweet spot that they have between their passions, what they're really interested in, and their talents, or what they're really good at. Instead of asking a teen, what do you want to be when you grow up? Two things. Ask what lights them up, what lights your teen up, number one, and number two, what kinds of issues in the world would they like to help solve? Now, this can be locally in the community, it can be in the world, it can be very simple, some need that they see, or for artists or people like architects, it's coming up with new solutions, creative solutions to issues that may have been around a long, long time. So how are you going to help them figure that out? Well, there are a couple of things. Look at the choice of extracurriculars and their choice of summer programs. For the 11th graders and 10th graders, what you do in the summer, what you do as extracurriculars are extremely important, because they will not only help enhance admission results, but they're also going to help you understand what you want to do. So this is one place where expert guidance can really make all the difference. Now, by making those right choices of extracurriculars and summer planning, Tony, in this case, found out what he wanted to major in and what he wanted his career to be. And then after he figured those things out, we could find his perfect match colleges to apply to. What is the benefit for you as students, for you as parents by implementing this approach? The benefit is that because you get that career guidance and major planning early on, it saves time and money. Because when a student has more clarity going into college, clearly they're spending less time experimenting. Now, there's a place for experimentation. That's one of the strengths of our educational system in this country. So I'm not saying that a student has to know, but taking those steps in advance can definitely get them on that path of clarity. I ask you, how would it have gone for Tony if he had ended up majoring in engineering when his heart was not in it? He might have woken up a year later in college, 2 years later, or, even 10 years later and have to completely reinvent himself. Okay, so now that was Tony's story. So now we're going to look at another student I worked with, Ellen. Ellen is now studying business at Emory University. She turned down 12 scholarship offers up to $100,000. Now, these scholarships, by the way, that I've mentioned are not need-based. These are merit scholarships, right? So whether if you're in a family where the income is going to allow you to benefit from financial aid from the colleges, that's great. If your income is above that, no problem, because in maximizing the quality of those applications, you're also going to enhance your chances of obtaining merit scholarships that are not only linked to grades, they're also linked to other talents. So Ellen's story is really about, it's slightly different because Tony, the example before, he had very high GPA, high test scores. Ellen came into this application process with a B average, and she was in a competitive high school, but her need was to maximize her scholarships while trying to tell a story that kind of fit together, right? So we focused on telling her story about two aspects of her experience in high school. Number one, how she improved her GPA over the 3 years that she was in high school. Because of course she applied after junior year, so that gave her 3 years of narrative really to talk about. And how did she do that? Through hard work and taking initiatives outside of class, through mentorship with professors. And she took very, very challenging classes. So that was the first part. And the second part was her extracurricular experience in yearbook, which she combined with an internship at a startup incubator the summer between her junior and senior year. So the point here is that she wove together, I helped her tell her story in a way that wove together her talents and experience in high school. And that narrative, that story of how she combined all her talents and her interests got her admission to her top choice school, which was Emory, as well as a number of scholarship offers. So the tip here, tip number 3, is see your high school journey as a narrative. The question here to ask is, how do my major and career plans, my academic performance, and my extracurricular experience fit together? And the exciting part of this is that when you start to explore that, it's not only helpful for college admissions, it helps students gain clarity about themselves and where they want to get to. And then that allows us to create a game plan to help them get to that, to reach those goals. So the idea, how do you do that as a parent, for example? Have them take a strengths and interest assessment. That's the first part to understand. And then after you get those results, brainstorm with them to see how all of those aspects can fit together. That's what I do with my students, is I give them that assessment, we have an in-depth interview, and we really try to understand, what is your story? Authenticity, when you see that on the admissions websites, you might think, oh, be yourself, be your authentic self. You might think, oh, that's a terrible buzzword. It doesn't mean anything. But actually, it can be a very enriching part of this process, because the more you can understand or help your kids understand what matters to them, how they can use their talents to benefit the community, and how they can build a life around that, that will open doors, both for admissions and scholarships at the same time. So the benefit here is optimized admission results, financial savings through scholarships here again, and also just the peace of mind of knowing that your student has submitted the best applications they're capable of. Now we're going to go to the third student I want to tell you about, Grace. And her mom, Maria, and her daughter Grace, I worked with last year. She received $80,000 scholarship from her top choice school, which was California Institute of the Arts, or CalArts. She turned down $199,000 scholarship from Columbia College, Chicago. So I'm going to let them tell you exactly how it went. And after that, I will explain to you the tip that goes along with Grace's story, which has to do with SAT or ACT testing.
Hi, everyone. I'm Grace Sorenson, and I'm a long-term client of Miss Anjali. We began working my freshman year. Right away, she got to know my family, my passions, and what I saw myself doing beyond just the years of college.
I have to agree. I'm Maria, and I'm Grace's mom. And I would have to say the best thing about Anjali and working with her is that she's super organized. She uses a lot of technological tools that keep us organized with calendars and scheduling. What I loved is that she made Grace responsible for all of it. So selfishly, I didn't have to do all of that. And I actually love that she made her become very independent and very responsible for her learning and for her goals and reaching them. We love her dearly, and
Absolutely.
We are very grateful for her because she goes far beyond just academic learning and growth.
And I'm so proud to say, and so thankful to be able to say that in these 4 years, thanks to her help with my applications, I was able to get a $20,000 scholarship to my top pick school, which is California Institute of the Arts, also known as CalArts. So thank you, Miss Anjali, for everything that you've done for me. We love you so much, and we can't wait to see what other lives you get to change. Thank you.
So basically, when she said $20,000, that was per year. That's why it came out to the $80,000 that I mentioned earlier. So in this case, what was very key was the SAT versus the ACT testing. Now, I get a lot of questions about test optional and what does it mean to test optional, and how can you be strategic about this? Now, a lot of schools have been traditionally test optional. Places like Smith College, New York University, which is test flexible. They know how to evaluate students without test scores. However, because there are still many colleges that are either temporarily test optional, in the sense that if you do not have, you do not want to submit test scores, you do not have to. Because of the situation that was brought on by COVID and the fact that schools are not always very familiar with how to evaluate applications without the test scores, I do recommend that students do the test prep. Now, let's be very clear. The SAT and the ACT, which by the way are two very different tests, I do not recommend students take both. There's no need. I recommend that students identify. I give students a diagnostic to see whether they are more likely to score higher on the SAT or ACT. Some students score equally well in both, but there are two very different tests and they are not testing the same thing. But in both cases, the SAT or the ACT, let's be clear, these are not actually aptitude tests. They are called aptitude tests, but studies have shown that they do not predict college readiness. They do not predict success in college. So what they do show, though, is how much test prep has been done and how much drilling has been done. That's what they show. Now, of course, there are exceptions. There's students who step into these tests and ace them from the beginning. That's great. If that's your case, then that's absolutely fine. But what I'm trying to say is, because they're still there, I recommend that students try to do it. Now, eventually, if your scores use the 50th percentile from the past year of the colleges that you're applying to see if your test scores are at the top of that 50th percentile or above, good idea to submit. If they are at the bottom or below, not such a good idea to submit. Many of the colleges are still, they're still admitting a lot of students without test scores. But this is a strategy and a question that needs to be determined very carefully, right? Because what you want to be sure is, if there are no test scores, that your application offers admissions a real understanding of who you are, what you've accomplished, and what your potential is. And there are ways to do that through the essays and other options. Now, there are different ways to decide whether the ACT or ACT. There's the SAT or ACT. There's the diagnostic test that I told you about. But you can also look at the PSAT score. The PSAT score taken, PSAT taken generally in sophomore year, can be used as a predictor of the SAT. They are not scored the same. The PSAT is lower. The top grade that you can get is lower than the top SAT, but you can look at charts that show a prediction from the PSAT to the SAT. So that's an option. The PSAT also, if you ace that with 99th percentile, usually it opens the door to the merit scholarship, which is, a couple of $1,000s per year, generally speaking. So that can be a good thing. So again, what the most useful, the most vital aspect for students is their time. How are they going to use their time? So I work with a lot of different kinds of students, and not always do I recommend, spending a very intensive time in test prep. Because we want to decide, there are even now test blind colleges like the University of California system, UCLA, UC Berkeley, UC San Diego, et cetera. If you send scores, they won't even look at them. So there are many options, and I think it's very important to understand the lay of the land so that you can be strategic in these choices. Now, you might be wondering how all the pieces of the application process fit together, and when it is that your child, whether in 10th grade, in 11th grade, or at this point, even in 12th grade, when they should be doing what to really crush the college admissions process and, be able to have those fantastic results, both in terms of admission and scholarships. So over the years, I've developed a playbook, what to do, when to do it, which I want to share with you. And I want to show you how you can access it. After that, I will be sharing final practical tips. So please stick around until the end of the webinar. Also, if you have questions, be sure to put them in the Q&A. I will have a time for Q&A at the end, and I would be delighted to answer them. Now, if I don't get to your question, feel free to reach out to me offline, and I will answer you. Now, once I have shown you this blueprint or this playbook, I'm also offering you a free 30-minute strategy session, one-on-one, to explore how I might be able to help going forward and which of the packages that I'm going to outline for you would be best. Now, these packages really are the fruit, as I say, of many, many years of experience. They contain the playbook. So now, if you do book a strategy session, and please, Leslie, if you could put that link again in the chat. If you do book the free 30-minute one-on-one strategy session with me and you're a student, I require that you have at least one parent with you for that session. The point of the session is to explore if working together would make sense, and for you to ask specific questions about the playbook that I am going to share with you just in one moment. So thank you, Leslie, again, for putting that into the chat. So let's look at this playbook. Now, this playbook, which really is a proven blueprint, and these packages that I've developed for crushing the college admissions process, is for basically designed for you and your kids, if you're parents, for you and your kids to have the time and the bandwidth to focus on what matters the most to you. So that because I've developed a streamlined process that will help you save time and give you peace of mind. So let's look at what that looks like in practice. So for 11th to 12th grade students, that playbook looks as follows. There are two different ways of doing it. I've presented it as comprehensive, which means we're talking about applying to about 8 to 10 colleges. And we meet in the 11th grade in the spring and summer before 12th, monthly at all other times. Now, again, if you're working with me, this is how we will proceed. If you're working on your own, you can still use this as the blueprint. It depends on your family and the comfort level that you have in initiating and dealing with all of these different moving parts. So cutting edge interest and strengths assessment, super important. As I told you earlier, I have one that I use that I love, that my students love. There are many out there, but this one has so much information that can help us with the next steps going forward. Then you want to look very carefully. What we do is I look at the transcripts, I analyze them very carefully, what those grades have been like, and give tutoring recommendations, because what you want to do is you want to optimize. If there's a challenge, address it. Don't wait. If you're in 10th grade and you have a challenge in an academic area, address it. Get the help that you need. There are free resources as well as paid resources. And then we look at your curriculum, your choices for different classes that you might take next semester, next year. Those choices can be important because colleges are assessing the rigor of the curriculum. So here is a point where you can actually have an impact by your choice of classes. And also the course selection themselves, because some of them may be very rigorous, but they might not be right for you. So strategy is super important. Then what I call, the elegant extracurriculars. These are all those little choices that we talked about with the case studies. We want your applications to stand out. So when you make choices about the summer and your activities during the year, we want those to align with who you really are, what really matters to you, and also creative ways, capstone projects, ways to set you apart in the application process. I help students design these capstone projects or personal projects, or I pair them with mentors who can help them do that, again, to set apart in the process. And then during the time that we work together, or if you're working on your own, you need to address all the pieces of the application that have to do with communications. These pieces are not generally taught in school, but they are extremely important, both for applications and for the internships that you're going to be applying to when you get to college or when your kids get to college. So things like creating a outstanding resume, both in content and presentation, preparing for interviews. My time as Princeton University interviewer has led me to create a two-step process to train students to ace their interviews. There are, again, free resources out there if you want to train that, but be sure you address it. And then email and phone strategies. You want to be sure that you are communicating with the college admissions staff in a way that supports your application. So it should all kind of fit together. And these are skills that you will need later on in any case. Then social media, I have a 6-hour interactive curriculum. Or when students don't have the time for that, I do give them a summary to show how to clean up their digital profile and also create a LinkedIn profile. Very useful. Now, more and more high school students have LinkedIn profiles. These are great ways to connect with professors and admissions. And then we work on a best fit college list, and we want this to really correspond to not only student preferences, but also, of course, their profile, admission trends, data, so that these are colleges where the student is going to thrive. And then we want the SMART testing plan. So it's either going to be the SAT or the ACT. I give a diagnostic, and then I give a suggested plan. If you can wrap this up before junior year, great. If you can't, that's okay too. The important thing is for that plan to fit in with your child's well-being. We want that student not to be overburdened in any given semester. And then we work on, then it's time to work on the college applications when all of those things are set up. Generally, so for this package that I've outlined, it's 10 colleges, all aspects, and that includes all the essays, including all the scholarship essays and the honors essays. And we want those to reflect who the student really is, bring together all of those threads that we mentioned with a case study earlier. And also, if in this package, that is what's included is any summer program applications, summer program essays, any competition essays, any internship application. So all of that is included. That's quite a lot of work on the student's part that I support all the way through. And attention, if you're doing it on your own, attention needs to be placed carefully on all these aspects in order to optimize the process and make sure that your chances are the best they can be. And then I stay with students. This is for 11th and 12th grade. So this includes all of 11th and all of 12th grades. I stay with a student all the way through when they enroll in their college of choice. If you are on a wait list, there are really good strategies for getting off that wait list, and you can negotiate your scholarships. You can leverage your offers. And I train students in how to talk to admissions to be able to do that. I've had very good success with it. So generally, and of course, the growth mindset and purpose, focus on purpose is really the signature of everything that I do with students. And again, if you're doing this alone, focus on how you can turn these challenges that you're going to be facing over the next 2 years into opportunities for learning. That's what growth mindset is all about, turning that around. I have a process that I take students through, because there are many difficulties along the way, but there's always a way to learn something from it. And then focus on purpose. Again, we want students to see college as one step in designing a life of meaning and financial stability. So all of this together for 11th and 12th grades, generally, it is a 12,997. It corresponds to, between 60 and 100 hours of work together, including all the essay editing and everything. And today, if you can sign up for this 30-minute free strategy session, I can offer you a $500 discount. So that is a significant savings. Now, if you're thinking of more colleges than the 10, there is another package, which is the premium package. And in addition to those, everything that was included before, I also include a full 18-hour test prep package for either the SAT or the ACT after I give you the diagnostic. So we'll know whether to focus on the SAT or the ACT. All of the tutors that I recommend, I have handpicked, I have interviewed, and I supervise, and they're all Princeton University students who have scored very, very high on these tests, who have a lot of experience, and I match them personality-wise to the students who will be working with them. In addition to those 10 applications included in the comprehensive package, there is also another additional 5 applications. So up to 15 colleges in total for this premium package. And generally that comes to $15,697. But the breakdown, so if you add all of those things separately together, in any case, there is already a savings of $674, but I am additionally offering the $500 discount. So if you sign up for the one-on-one free strategy session, then you will also receive. So the savings there is over $1,000 in savings. Now, just so you know, if I work with a lot of students. I also get very full. I'm usually on a waiting list in the fall for juniors. So if this is of interest to you, please do book that strategy session. We can explore possibilities. If this is out of your price range, totally understand. I offer students who, in that situation, some free resources. So just contact me offline and I would be more than happy to share those free resources. So the college planning packages now for those parents who have also students in middle school, or for those of you who are in 10th grade, who have students in 10th grade, I have a talent development package 3D, which is something that is proprietary to me, and it includes a series of steps that will allow students to discover, develop, and demonstrate their talents by the time they get to 11th grade, end of 11th grade, and they are applying to college. So this positions them in a very strong way early on to be able to excel in the college admissions and scholarship process. And each step here, it includes another element. I help students develop their personal websites. I help them connect with decision makers through social media. I help students find mentors and outstanding summer programs and opportunities, different internships also that are open to high school students. I look at their talent portfolio. I'm able to analyze it. And this is not just for visual and performing arts students. This is for students talented in all areas. And then this includes all of the essays for applications for summer and for mentorships and competitions during the year. It includes a transcript review, also tutoring recommendations, course selection for schools. So basically, we're talking about everything that is included in the 11th to 12th grade package, but not the applications. Now, please, if you're doing this on your own and you're not working with me, follow these, be sure you're touching on all of these because this is the playbook, right? This is the blueprint. Now, some families want to kind of embark on this on their own and some need the expert guidance. But either way, I'm sharing and also please know that after this, I'm going to share the final tips and then we'll do Q&A. So please stick around. Personalized high school timeline. So you'll know for each year what needs to be accomplished. And then, of course, we'll do that SAT versus ACT diagnostic as early as necessary with monthly meetings and with the growth mindset and focus on purpose. So that is 3,997, whether a student is in middle school or high school, and that's that's per the year. And here again, I am offering a $500 discount if you sign up for the one-on-one free strategy session. So Leslie, would you put that into the chat? I would be very grateful if you could do that so people can benefit from this opportunity. So final tips before we go to Q&A. This is the only thing I don't want you to do, whether you're a parent or a student. If you're a parent, you know who this is, right? Scarlett O'Hara from Gone with the Wind. She used to famously say, "I'll think about that tomorrow." You definitely want to be ahead of the curve. And so planning is going to be your friend. Now, there are some myths that I don't want you to buy into. My children need to get into a top 10, 100 ranked school to be successful. If they don't get into X school, their lives will be ruined. If they do not become a doctor, lawyer, engineer, they will be poor. Right? So these are false. And the reason they're false is that research has shown from very reputable universities, research has shown that the best predictors of success in college are not the school rank, but two things: being closely mentored by professors in college and engaging with a college community in an active way. And this is what you do when you get there. These are positively correlated with increase in academic performance in college, because engaging with the college community is, it means actively participating in student organizations and other ways to connect with other students and with the leaders in the college community. I add to this a third element: choose work that is in line with 21st century job skills. As AI and AI or machine learning takes more and more precedence, there are soft skills and jobs that will be even more in demand. Check that out and align with that, because you're going to help with that financial stability piece that we all want for our kids. So the growth, and then the last point was definitely focus on the joy of mastery. on growth mindset and purpose. These are correlated with health benefits and with the happiness and the emotional mental stability that is required, for the kind of success, again, that we want for our kids. So we talked about the fit being more important than the rank. A lot of elements come into fit. We can talk more about that, and I certainly can explore that with you if we end up working together. Again, one step in designing a life of purpose, college, not an end in itself, not a destination. Timeline is key, right? We went over that in the beginning with one of the case studies. Be very aware that a lot of colleges are rolling admissions, whether they say it or not. And then some kids just don't know what they want yet, and that's okay. Because you can, even if they don't know, even if you're a senior and you're listening to this and you still don't know, that's perfectly okay, because you can take steps to find out what you really want to do. And even next summer, if you're a senior, there are always ways to get that feedback from the real world to figure out, what do I really love? What do I really want? If you have a Renaissance kid who has many talents and really doesn't know how to combine them yet, celebrate that. There are some fantastic majors that are multidisciplinary, and I work with a lot of these Renaissance kids, what I call Renaissance kids, and I'll be happy to explore that with you in the strategy session. And then that application strategy, we want it to be in line with who your students really are and what they really care about. Show what matters to them most. How can they use their combination of talents to benefit others? These are all not only useful for college admissions and scholarships, but also for personal fulfillment and eventually a career of financial stability. And then in the narrative, tie those extracurriculars and those career goals together. This will be organic and will work really well if the focus is on purpose and self-reflection and growth. So another couple of things, how to reconcile students' authentic purpose with college's strategic enrollment and management. What that means is students are being tracked by the colleges. Colleges in that sense are businesses. When you know that, and you know that it's important to them to try to predict if they admit you, then will you attend? That's what they're trying to figure out. That's what demonstrated interest is really all about. And then when you know that, then you know that clicks count. Open the emails. Be sure to leverage that tracking to benefit the student. Clean up that digital footprint and engage on social media in a positive way. There are many ways to do that, especially connecting with professors in the field of interest and admission staff. And also keep a record, if your kids are doing all sorts of different activities, it can be very helpful to have that file where everything is documented. Videos and photos really are your friends in this sense. Go deeper, not wider in extracurriculars. Help your kids strive for mastery, because the mastery brings joy. And focus on process as well. So we're not focusing on the results, but we're focusing on the experience of doing those things that are meaningful to them. That's what the joy of mastery is all about. This is not a concept I invented. It is part of the psychological, the canon of psychology. So it is something that you can learn more about. And then wherever you need to, and you can, do rely on informed guidance as early as possible, because it can save you a lot of time and a lot of money. So what do we, in conclusion, what do we want for our kids? We're looking for kids who can build a joyful, successful life of purpose and financial stability. We want the kids to thrive. So that's what my process is all about. And whether you work with me or not, that is what I wish for you. Every single one of you, all of you students, all of you parents, may you be able to experience that and to get to that and to take the steps needed to realize your dreams and your aspirations. So now I am going to stop sharing the screen and I am going to go to Q&A. So I'm looking forward to seeing what your questions are. And so Linda, have you observed a negative impact due to COVID restrictions? Extracurricular activities, community service? Yes, the truth is that there are many activities, in-person activities, that have been restricted, or some that have even kind of fallen by the wayside. However, just as everything else, when there is a shortage or there is a limitation, there is also opportunity. There are many online opportunities. Now, I know that we're all sick of that, right? We all just can't wait for this whole extravaganza to be over with. However, we kind of have to navigate these waters. And there are a number of online substitutes, let's say, for the in-person opportunities. Now, when I work with a student, I work very closely to try to figure out what the best course of action is. There are resources that you can find. Again, if you want to reach out to me offline, that's fine. I'll be happy to send those to you, and to see how you can use. The whole point here, though, is what are the opportunities that will allow me to use my talents to benefit the community? If you ask that question, you might come up with the answers yourself. I do want to ask Leslie if you would to please post the link again, so people who are interested possibly in working with me and want to explore which package might be best can make that appointment so that they can benefit from the $500 discounts. Okay, Ariana, how would someone go about working with you? So you can definitely sign up for that free 30-minute one-on-one, and then I will explain to you kind of all the different ways that we can start. It's not complicated, and I'll be delighted to tell you more about that if that's something you want to pursue. Anonymous, a lot of volunteer opportunities have been canceled due to COVID. How does it impact the student's college application? This is kind of the same thing, right? We are looking for creative ways, online substitutes. Now, there's some situations where that's very difficult, like athletics. I've worked with a few athletes this year who, for example, tennis players whose USTA ranking just plummeted because they just didn't have the opportunity to play in tournaments because the tournaments were canceled. That's quite difficult. However, because that is true across the board, then it kind of levels the playing field. Not all, part of the difficulty is that sometimes it's state by state. So then, what we want to do is be strategic and be very personalized. That's why that personalized conversation is so important, because we need to find, how are you going to optimize your application? What steps can you take that, to demonstrate your potential, your accomplishments that are not dependent on activities that have been canceled or that will be canceled. There's also a place in applications for students to explain how COVID has impacted their lives, both academically and from the extracurricular point of view, and also if there are any family impacts. So how do you select colleges for kids with dyslexia? That's a very good question. So I've worked actually with quite a lot of students who have dyslexia, and there can be a wide range of options. Some of colleges are actually very good at helping students. Often the students will need that 504 that they have during high school. They're going to need it in college too. So, depending on the severity and possibly other issues, There can be either schools that are particularly, their niche is really to help students who have learning differences, but not always. There are. It really depends on that variety of factors. And if when I feel that I'm not the right person to work with a student who has possibly a severe learning difference or a combination, then I will refer out to people who are more specialized. My daughter is taking a foreign language. She's struggling and it is killing her overall GPA. She's required to take it because she's in honors. What are your thoughts on this? This is her last year to take it. Yeah. If she's required, it sounds like she's required. I don't know that there's much choice, because now, if she's going to be focusing on STEM in college, a low language score is not going to be the end of the world. If she was planning to be a translator in those languages, it might have an impact. Now, having said that, the most selective colleges in the country say they want, 3 to 4 years of high school language. So then again, it becomes a very personalized conversation. We want to see kind of the whole picture, right? How does that language fit in to the rest of the transcript? How does it fit into the goals that the student has? So that's a more personalized conversation. And again, feel free if you think that it would be of benefit to possibly work together than to sign up for that session. Or again, as I said, I'm happy to share free resources as well. Okay, so can these programs be paid out of a 529 account? Programs, I'm not sure whether you mean summer programs or working with me. That's something you have to ask your accountant, because I don't give tax advice or anything related really to financials. I do have some experience with financial aid applications, but that's anything technical like that, you would really need to check with your CPA. Can you explain yield protection and how to avoid it? Yes. So yield, it's what I said before. Colleges are trying to guess. If we enroll your student, is that student going to attend? That's what they're trying, because US News and World Report, their rankings, their college rankings are sometimes dependent on yield. Sometimes the salaries and the bonuses of admission staff is linked to their yield. So you can imagine that it's a big deal for some colleges. Some colleges say that they don't care. And, I'm not convinced. Of course, if we're talking about the Ivies or Ivy Plus schools, their yield is uniformly very high. So that's not going to have an impact. How to get around it are all the tips that I gave you before. So I'm not going to repeat them, but feel free to watch the webinar again when that happens. Okay, so, there's quite a lot and we don't have much time. Leslie, if you could just let me know if we need to stop in 3 minutes or if we have kind of a little bit more wiggle room. If you could, just let me know. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to see that on the chat, but okay, a little bit more wiggle room. Very good. So let's see, a lot of volunteer, yes. Multiple interests or talents. How do you recommend double majoring? Double majoring can be great. You can also look at majors where you design your own major. More and more colleges are allowing you to do that. It is very interesting to some colleges, especially those specialized in interdisciplinary programs, to have students with multiple interests and who can find connections. So what we want to do is be sure that you're not, again, overloading yourself. Double major can be quite intense, but again, it depends on the student and the situation. So for a more personalized conversation, I'd have to get to know you. Okay, how do scholarships work? What are the best steps to acquire them? my whole presentation was all about the best steps to acquire merit scholarships. Financial aid, which is income-based, that's a different story. Now, don't think that those buckets are separate. Only income-based financial aid and then only merit-based financial aid. If a college wants a student badly enough, they're going to try to entice them. And that is going to include merit or financial aid scholarships, right? So what I'm trying to say is, what we want to do is optimize those applications. That's how to get those scholarships. Okay. And again, you can rewatch the webinar for all the tips. Let's see, how can you tell if a school has good programs to help them engage with their communities, network, and find jobs? Yes, this is good. This is important. What you want to do is look on their website. If you don't get the answer on their website, contact the admissions office and ask those questions. This is a very important question that you can find out directly from the admissions staff, that you want to see a great career office, career guidance. You want to see examples of internships of students that have attended previously. You know, remember, yes, you're applying to college and they're going to look at and analyze your profile to decide whether to admit you, also based on their institutional needs that year. You know, what are they looking for that year? But at the same time, you are, as a student, you are you're the consumer in the way, in a way, in the sense that colleges are run like businesses. So you need to ask these important questions to find out if the college is offering you what you are looking for. Many schools are test optional. Is this a good thing? Does it hurt a student if they don't? Again, I've answered that question. Look at this webinar. 50th percentile, you want to be at the top of the 50th percentile or above to submit your scores. You know, you might consider if you're in the middle of the 50th percentile, but not below. Are there online tests to find out whether the SAT or ACT is a better fit for me? There are certainly a lot of free resources. I am not familiar with those ones online. All I know is the one that I use. So, you know, I'm very happy to, if you want to work with me on that, then I can share that one with you. Andrew, what are colleges looking for when they track a student's digital footprint? Yeah, so we want to clean up the digital footprint. Basically, colleges don't want to admit students who are going to be aggressive with other students, who are going to belittle other students, who are going to, you know, create divisiveness on a college campus. They're looking for people who build bridges. They're looking for people who are going to contribute it to a positive conversation. So, you know, this is a very simple rule of thumb. You need to go over your social media to see what's out there, you know. All it takes is a screenshot. Somebody can send a screenshot. It doesn't matter if you've taken down some of the things you posted. That's the reality. However, you know, there are also ways to, it's not just about cleaning up the digital footprint. It's also about engaging in a positive way. So then you can reach out to professors. You can, you know, without pestering. You're not going to, of course, do that, go on the opposite extreme, but there are positive ways of doing that. And I can share more, you know, in a personalized way if we decide to go ahead with that. Okay. Let's see. I have a 12th grader who is dead set on one university, he has applied and been accepted, but we have not received any scholarship information. Will we have any negotiation? Right. So it depends. It depends which school. If the school is a school that does not offer merit scholarships, you know, usually the Ivy and Ivy Plus schools, as I said, do not. They will offer only income-based financial aid. And negotiation is going to be really difficult, right? Pretty much impossible. There are some exceptions. Again, you know, I don't want to say don't try to negotiate. But it has to be done in an intelligent and strategic way, so that the best way is to leverage one offer against the other. But it's also going to depend on the school, the two schools' different reputations rank on U.S. News. Even though that's a very controversial topic, the rank and the importance of the rank still, it can come into play. So we want to really tailor that conversation to the student, to that particular situation. So again, you can reach out to me offline. Do internships help in gaining interest? It depends. If you spent the internship, I don't know, if you spent the internship carrying coffee and not really being able to observe anything of value, it might not have the impact that you're looking for. Something that is less prestigious, but where you have a lot of experience might help. A volunteering opportunity where you have a lot of hands-on and useful skill building kind of experience, and where you can get a letter of recommendation, that could be much more useful. So there's no right or wrong answer. It depends on the situation. Okay, I'm going to answer, let's see, 2 more questions. We have 10 minutes left. We have 10 minutes left, Leslie is saying. Okay, so I'm going to answer another 5 minutes worth of questions, and then I'll have to stop. So the junior year daughter, autism, on the autism spectrum. Okay. Yes. So definitely there are colleges that can help her, and that where she can really pursue studies at a high level. So I would, look for those specific kinds of resources. I can't give names of specific schools until I get to know the student. I don't feel comfortable doing that, because that, that's just generic advice, but you can do a search, to see which schools, and look for parent reviews, look for student reviews. And if there's a pattern, listen to that pattern. Be careful with the marketing, because there's some colleges that are just going to, just like any business, that are going to try to sell you the moon, basically. So be skeptical and a careful consumer when you're doing that research. Or I would say work with a counselor who is specialized in helping students, on the autism spectrum. Again, that's not my specialty, but I can certainly refer out, no problem. What is your experience working with kids with learning differences? As I said, to some extent, if they're very severe, generally, the differences that I refer out. So it really depends on the student, but I have worked with a number of students, especially with dyslexia or anxiety disorders. How much time do you spend on career exploration? I love the steps you've outlined. But I am concerned about my child being unsure about their career direction. She has taken the strong interest inventory. We're working on a few things to explore, but curious if there is time built into your packages regarding the career. Yes. So we do a lot of career exploration. And depending on the student, what I like to do is offer students opportunities to get feedback from the real world. So yes, I have a very in-depth assessment. It takes 3 hours to complete with a wonderful report. We have a discussion after that. Then I interview the student. So I get a lot of information from that. And then I make recommendations for them to explore that through their activities, through their summer programs. Because the more feedback they can get from the real world, the better it is. And then last question, let me see. Yes. For the free resources, just email me, and I will put my email into the chat. I think I just sent it to you, Leslie. If you could just put it into the, so everybody can see it. My daughter, okay. What is an Ivy Plus school? Places like Duke, MIT, Stanford. So there are schools that are just as competitive as the Ivies, but that are not called the Ivy League. My daughter applied to Yale, was not accepted. Could she appeal? You can always appeal. That is very personal question in the sense that, I mean, that requires personalization. Like I would need to see her application. I need to see her transcripts. I need to see her resume. I need to talk to her and to you as a parent to be able to recommend whether an appeal makes sense. So, yeah, I wish I could be more specific, but there are situations where truly it's not possible to ask, offer generic. Anyway, thank you all so much. If I haven't answered your questions, feel free to reach out to me. I hope I see some of you who are interested in working with me at the free strategy session. And please, if you're a student and you are interested in working with me, be sure at the strategy session that you include a parent at that meeting. And I am very grateful to have had this opportunity to share this. And I wish you all the best in your exploration, career exploration, major exploration, and college planning and applications.